Have you ever dreamt of being on a podcast? Have you ever dreamt of being a host on a podcast? I, in the past few weeks, have lived this dream. And all thanks to Toastmaster International, who presented me a project on which I had to prepare a podcast. In the podcast, what ensured was we got an eminent personality, and you all know him. Wait for it, was nobody else than Toastmaster Pulkit. Yes, the dashing, charming Toastmaster Pulkit, with whom I did the podcast. The podcast was to be presented here today, but because of certain reasons of the projector not being available in the facility, I thought, what better opportunity that I represent what I did in the podcast and what are my learnings from the podcast to you. So the podcast was nothing less than a scintillating one, wherein we had a whole lot of items covered. Be it how Toastmaster Pulkit won at the district conference as a runners-up, and what was his learning from the project. Also talked about how in a career progression, why is it important to take career breaks. So here, those who are interested in taking a career break, the podcast talks about that as well. We also dwelled into a very important concept of why a mentor is important. And the list was endless. I will cover certain key aspects of why I felt that the podcast will be able to excite you, and at the same time, you'll get a lot of learning from the podcast. We split the podcast into 3 segments. We did a CSD approach, not a CRC one. CSD, we started with content, then there was a speaker, and then there was a delivery. First one was the content. So, quick show of hands of how many of you feel or see Big Boss as an entertainment source and love the content. Quick show of hands.
Big Boss.
Yes, Toastmaster Ayush, Rajesh, Toastmaster Rajni. Trust me. What did you like, Toastmaster Rajesh, in Big Boss content? Is it entertainment or is it the content that you like?
Basically, the entertainment, not the content wise or content.
The entertainment? Yeah.
Keeps on changing every day. And but through that content, the entertainment which is coming is more interesting.
Wonderful. Toastmaster Ayush, how about you? What do you like more in the Big Boss TV OTT?
I love to see them fighting.
That's the entertainment that they get. So in a podcast, what we realized is a podcast ideally can be entertaining as well. But why people see a podcast is about the content. What education can you gather from the podcast? What learnings can you get from the podcast? And because of this, it took me almost like 2.5 months to get the content right. So that was the first stepping stone, getting the content right in those 2 months. I researched a lot on what areas would the audience be interested in into listening for a podcast. Cannot build a Big Boss OTT show because it's already there in the market. But why it is important to have the content right. Once I got a gist in terms of what the audience would be interested in, what are my key areas that I want to learn from, I was able to get that content in pieces in some fashion, and that's where I make that bucket right of saying that, okay, this is the content I want to speak. So first one was career breaks. Are career breaks important? 2, is there a fear when we are taking a career break? Is there how to overcome that fear? And with these 2 crucial areas, we started that the content is now there. Let's move to the next segment, which was getting the speaker. So again, a quick question. How many of you actually hear podcasts, and any particular speaker that you love listening to the podcast from?
I don't know the name of speaker, but the channel name is Communication Guys. So there are 2 speakers in that, and they discuss about how to communicate in this polarized world. So they share different techniques of communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So Communication Guys is the
Yes.
channel.
Yes.
Anybody else? Yeah. Diary of a CEO. So speakers, and probably the reason why you kind of listen to these podcasts is because of either the host or the speaker who come on that particular channel. This is where for me also it was very important to get the speaker right. And again, all thanks to the Noida plus Toastmasters Club this time around, because we do table topic nights. And in table topics night, I happen to know Toastmaster Pulkit in certain streams and fashion, where I got to know that he has an interest and a personality who can share ideas openly. So I selected Toastmaster Pulkit as the speaker because then I knew that I can talk with him on certain areas, like why to take a career break. He has taken a career break. What are his learnings from the career break? And you will find a plethora of learnings in the podcast that I was able to find from him. He won a district championship as well. What was his learning out of the career break into moving to Toastmasters, and what excited him? Item like these. So once you have that speaker sorted as well, which was pretty easy for me given the table topic nights, I was able to gain down on the speaker also. This was the most elusive battle, just like the battle finding the elusive deer of Epic Ramayana. And once I had checked this on, I moved into the delivery segment. Delivery was something then the most critical one, which eluded me for a long time. Why? Because I was worried about, in the podcast that I see on Beer Biceps, Ranveer Abdalia, he has a chair put in place, there is a camera, there is a fantastic mic, and the camera zooms and pans out differently. I was in this dilemma that I should do it this particular way to make it look excellent. So where should the camera be? Where should I sit cross-legged or open-legged? What should be my body posture? Should I be looking at the camera? Should I not be looking at the camera? And this in fact eluded me for a long time because I was not able to prepare or get the setup right at all. The learning for me from there was that I don't have to bother about all these supplementary things. If my content is right, if my speaker is right, I can give out that needed value to the audience, all the supplementary thing will be taken away. So the moment after 2-3 weeks I was able to tick this box off to say that okay, let's do a Zoom meeting with someone who I can speak freely with. This was taken care just like that. And as you will see in the podcast, I'll share the podcast link with you all. Because of the absence of project ahead today, you will find that it came out really good because it was one authentic, not untrue, non-natural sense. At the same time, it gave a lot of value. We spoke about career breaks, mentorship, and a whole lot more. Had I got the time, I would have explained and showcased the podcast to you all of how interesting it was and what all is there for us to gain in that. I do have the content. I do have some more content as well. I'm still seeking for a few more speakers. Will you be the next one? Over to Toastmaster of the day.